African time, Nonso Amadi, taking us to West Africa with that one titled Foreigner. Before that, Arya Star keeping us in the West with that one titled Hot Body. If you've just joined us, welcome to it. This is the Monday edition of African Diaries. And if you did not listen or did not tune in or did not have the opportunity to tune in, then you need to be told about this 8-part series that's dubbed Rewiring Your Mind for Success. So we are embarking on a journey to rewire how we think, how we perceive, how we respond to life, and how we co-create in our present day and age. And we do this with Willem Hoss, but also we do this with Masters in Psychology graduate and family and relationship therapist Julienne Hoss, who joins us in the studio this evening. We're going to be talking about overcoming perfection. Now, the reality is, to an extent, we blur lines between excellence and perfection. Sometimes you want something to be so excellent that you keep on seeing the flaw in this pursuit, in this relationship, in this obstacle, that you miss the reality that in its current state, it has been fulfilled. It has been conquered. It has been finished to the best of its degree. Perhaps you're sitting on the other end and you're saying, Shayla, no, perfectionism is attainable. I do it all the time. And this is my story. Well, tell us about it. Find us on WhatsApp +27 6340 69126. Julianne, welcome to the studio.
So good to be here.
Thanks
for having me.
Sheesh. It's been, listen, you're a friend of the show. You're familiar with African Diaries and some of the subject matters that we've covered. So having you here is far beyond a delight. In actual fact, it brings me all the joy. So let's kickstart into the conversation that is. Let's talk all things perfectionism. What is perfect? What is perfectionism in this present day and age?
So perfect is obviously doing everything as amazing as possible.
Yes.
Interesting about perfectionism, when you look at it from a psychological perspective, is that it's more the fear of mistakes. So often I say to my clients, you're actually not trying to be perfect. You're actually trying to avoid any mistake or any wrongdoing or any shortcoming. And you just tapped into the difference between excellence and perfectionism. For me, thriving for excellence focuses on the task. So the question to ask is, how can I do this task a little bit better than yesterday?
Yeah.
How can I learn more about this work? How can I excel at the task? Versus perfectionism is focusing solely on myself. How can I be perfect? How can I overcome mistakes? How can I be safe? And that's where it becomes tricky. Because the more you focus on yourself, the less energy you have to actually focus on the task. And that's why perfectionism is such a challenge, because the more you want to be perfect, the less you're able to focus on the task, because your mind stresses about maybe making a mistake, maybe not being good enough. And that's where a lot of people enter a downward spiral.
Sheesh.
And the end result is that we often try to stay away from challenges because that's where we might make most mistakes.
Julianne, you said a lot. Okay, my brain just went pew, 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 because you pointed out a few things. Perfectionism is the focus on Shayla, not on the task at hand. And so me trying to program a cell phone, say that was a work task. If I'm trying to get it perfect and I keep on seeing the error is not in the task at hand. It's in how I feel I could possibly go wrong.
Yeah.
Then you said safety. You said, I want to do things correctly. I want to be safe. What does that mean?
It means that you avoiding a mistake and then you prioritize feeling safe over being perfect. So what we see in research is that people who are very high on perfectionism actually avoid tasks that are too difficult or too challenging. And if you put people in a lab, you give them a task and they all fail the first time. That's how the task is designed. In the psychological laboratory, don't trust what they tell you.
Yeah.
But people wouldn't know that, so they just get the feedback that you weren't good enough, you failed at the task. So people who are high on perfectionism, then when they get a choice to do the task and try again, or to take an easier task, they will stay away from the challenge and go with the easier path, versus people who are less or prone to perfectionism. They will say, okay, it didn't work out yesterday, I want to try again. I'm still curious about this task. I'm still curious how this might play out. So let me do it again. So if you then translate it to young people's challenges or to growth in your professional identity, what it means is that if you are high on perfectionism, you run into challenges, which we all do, you make a mistake, which we all do, you then avoid the difficult task or the challenges, meaning you shortcutting your growth.
Julianne, before you go there, let's come back. I want to touch on the safety thing, because I realize that the rewiring is not going to come from me understanding how to avoid perfectionism or overcome it. It has to be Shayla understanding self. Me saying I feel safe. What is it about mistakes that endangers me is my question. What is it about being wrong, not getting it done correctly, that makes me think that something is wrong with me, and then sort of puts me in a place where I feel danger? I want to understand the correlation between the two.
It's what you base your identity on. And if your identity is based on what you do and how well you perform and how perfect you are at something, a mistake is not just a mistake. It's a threat to who you are. It's the feeling that then I'm not good enough, then I'm not accepted, then I won't get opportunities, I'm a nobody. And a lot of young people fear that so much that they always think at work, tomorrow I'll get caught out.
Sure. Julianne, so I'm going to veer off a little bit. If we base, how do we define ourselves? How do we bring identity into the picture? And I'm asking this because if it's not what I do, if it's not where I'm from, if it's not what I like or I don't like, because all these things can have error, what is the one thing that I can base my identity on that will not threaten who I am?
I'll first give you a story and then I'll try to define it. So,
yeah.
Given that I'm a family therapist, I work with some parents, and we were trying to unpack exactly that question. We had a retreat for parents and kids, and this was exactly the question we were trying to understand. And everyone was trying to get their mind around it, and I was trying to explain what it could be from a psychological perspective. And one mother said, I think my daughter explained this to me. And the daughter came home, and school marks were not good, things were not going well, and the mother was agitated. And obviously we get so mean when we're actually really afraid. So she was obviously scared for her daughter's future, but said things like, you can't even study, you can't even write this test. What can you do? What can you do? Who are you? Well, you know, what's left? And the daughter just said, I know I'm kind. So she had an identity of being kind and being good enough even while things were going wrong in her life, which obviously wouldn't mean that they will go wrong forever, or she will bump against those obstacles forever. But she was rooted in the understanding that I'm kind, I'm a people's person, I connect with others. And how you can look at it more from a psychological perspective is the difference between self-confidence and self-worth. And when I first learned about it, it was a podcast. I was like, I don't need this podcast. That's the same thing, right? How good you are at something, your self-confidence is at the end of the day your self-worth. So I thought, no, let me skip. And then I thought, no, give me a try because a colleague recommended it. And when I started listening to it, it was really mind-blowing, because what they said in the podcast was that self-confidence is what you do and self-worth is who you are. So self-worth is often your values, where you're coming from, the people that you connected to, your family life, but also your vision. And for me, it's also my good intentions, that I trust that I have good intentions. Versus self-confidence is how good you can do things. And funnily enough is that kids and teenagers are really good at self-confidence because they go out and just do things and they're proud of it. But they need our support to teach them self-worth, that's what you fall back onto if you struggle to get things right.
The voice of Julienne Hoss joining us this evening. She is a family and relationship therapist, and we are looking at overcoming perfectionism. I think one defining point for me is the reality that perfectionism is a focus on you and not the task at hand. And so we're now disseminating that reality, getting into the crux and core of how we can establish an understanding of self and self-worth, so that we don't depend on self-confidence in order to give meaning to our lives, give understanding to who we are. If you have your questions, send them through to WhatsApp +27 6340 69126. It is 52 after 10 p.m. Central African Time. Julian, back to the subject matter. I want to now go into creating a healthy relationship between excellence and yourself. So that we're not focusing on perfect, because perfect is Shayla, right? And that really isn't working out, right? Because every time I hit a stumbling block, then I start avoiding, then I procrastinate, then I become nonchalant, and we don't want that. What relationship am I meant to have with excellence? How do I establish a good understanding of, firstly, my current ability, and secondly, the capacity to become excellent?
What I believe in is to focus on growth, not to focus on perfection. Because if you think you need to get it right the first time, then you're not allowing yourself to learn it. A colleague of mine, when we started our careers, always said, Julienne, being bad at something is the first step to get good at it. And I was like, what does he even mean? And looking back, I was like, he meant that growth mindset, that growth mentality. So that's what it comes down. So I ask my clients simple questions. First of all, how can you focus on the task again? Research shows that the best way to overcome anxiety at work is to focus on the task again. Not to tell yourself, I'm brilliant, I got this, I'm amazing. That's like, you're just building yourself up, but then one small doubt and you're all the way on the ground again. So no, the focus is, how can I do this task again?
Okay.
Spotlight shift. Because if you're focusing on yourself, if I'm just with Julienne and wanting to prove myself and my value, which is a challenge because most of us work in the service industry, we are the value add.
Yes.
The pressure is on. So that's why perfectionism thrives in our working world. We need to learn to come back to the task. First question, how can I focus on the task again? Second question, how can I do this 1% better than yesterday? So focus on the incremental growth rather than being perfect at it. Third question that I like to discuss with my clients is, what do I need to learn to get this? Instead of, I've got this already. What do I need to learn? What is important here? Open-ended questions. I actually, when my clients come with imposter syndrome or perfectionism or anxieties work-related, I tell them one rule: no more closed-ended questions. You are not allowed to ask yourself, am I good enough? Do I got this? Will they appreciate me? Do I add enough value? All of those questions are a no-go. You're only allowed to ask yourself open-ended questions that focus on your growth and give you something active to do. So then the third question is, how or what do I need to learn here? Which skills, which experience, which exposure will help me to get better at the task? Fourth question, who can guide me? Who can mentor me? Who can I open up to walk this journey with me? And then I think also fifth question, how can I stay curious and enjoy the task? Because the funny thing for me is I always joke with my clients, like, when you're in the corporate world or the world of work, and I always say, who actually goes in the meeting to learn something about the meeting, about the task? And most people just go into the meeting to prove themselves.
Yes.
So everyone is just there focusing on themselves.
Julienne, before we started this conversation, you said something so important. You gave definition to a struggle that many millennials might be having. They're the first in their family to establish whatever it is they're establishing. They don't have any counsel, any guidance. So question number 4 specifically is not attended to, right? And on top of that, parents who are fearful for their children's lives. Listen, this is a mom, a dad, that wants to see their child thrive. And so the push is, you have to be great. And you then interpret that as that my value add is how great I am. And so you step into the workspace and all you're focusing on is, I need to get this done right. And when I don't get it done right, I am not going to be okay. I am not good enough. My self-worth.
I disappointed my family.
I disappointed my parents. How do we overcome that? And I'm saying that specifically for millennials and people who are the first generation to conquer thing X or thing Y. You know, those who are introducing some level of greatness into the homestead. Those who essentially make their parents proud but can't enjoy that proud because it comes at the cost of their sleep, of their social life, of their pocket,
because it's
of
never
their life.
certain.
Exactly.
A mistake tomorrow and everything you've achieved,
Yeah.
all the dreams of your parents and family that you're living could be gone. And that freaks a lot of young people out.
Yeah.
And it's also linked to questions around race and class and gender, because if you look in South Africa, but also the broader picture, Africa, a lot of, especially black youth, they are the firsts. They are the first to have the opportunities. And I still remember coming from a more German middle class white background when we messed up. Like, actually, interestingly, our dads came to the party and said, "Don't worry, let me tell you a story of how it went bad for me when I had my first job, when I was still there and I made this mistake. Keep on moving." And I watched that, how a lot of my friends had that counsel.
Yeah.
So when that is missing, a lot of young people who are the first think, "Whoa, I made a mistake. Now all my opportunities are gone. I will never get on my feet again." And that's when the panic kicks in. So I think we really need to guide young people. And that's why I emphasize this point on mentorship. Because if you think you need to be perfect and you think everyone else where you're working is perfect, you bottle up and you feel ashamed. You're not opening up to share with others, and then you'll be alone. So it's also important for people who are already in the working environment, reach out, see who might benefit, because we always just look at the ones who are more successful and have further advanced than we are already, but actually look around who might benefit from your guidance. Because I think it's essential to tell young people that every success had so many missteps and so many mistakes and challenges and flaws, that this is part of the journey, so that we teach them how to get up again.
Julienne, you're saying turn to your colleague. Well, what if your colleague is just like you? What if we're all suffering from perfectionism of some kind? You know, what if we all have that scar? And so my counsel to you is, you better get up and do it right, because that's all I know. How do we define the correct kind of mentorship?
Yeah, it's funny because what you just said is actually quite rare. Because most people are so self-critical, and that's part of the perfectionist trap. That you're super self-critical to yourself, but you actually kind to others. And you understand that others need a chance to learn, but you yourself say, "I need to have it all figured out already." And even I was always impressed by the most perfectionist friends that I have, how amazing mentors, friends, and parents they are. Because the moment care and love kicks in, we are much more understanding. So I think even though you might be a perfectionist, you might still give really, really good advice, allowing people to grow and step into that journey. But it's helpful if you had that exposure.
Yeah.
And that's why what I work on with my clients is often to say it's a generational relay that you pass on like a race. Because oftentimes we then might get upset with our parents that they haven't taught us this, they haven't been guiding us, there's all this pressure at home. And I say they ran the first part of the race, opened up doors, opened up opportunities. It's not about fighting them for not having taught us, but to say, how do we take it forward? How do we take the next step? And I think a lot of young people can also help each other in the process, because you might be super self-critical and harsh on yourself and really kind and supportive to the next person.
That is fairly true. Listen, a minute after 11 p.m. Central African time, if you have just joined us, we're looking at the realities of overcoming perfectionism. And this is part of our 8-week series that is dubbed Rewiring Your Mind for Success. Joining us here in studio is Julienne Hoss, and she is a relationship and family therapist. And we're just disseminating some of the concepts behind perfectionism. If you suffer from this thing, if this thing is slowing you down in life, and it can manifest in different ways. Please have a listen to this conversation. It is a fruitful one. Julienne, let's speak about manifestation. How does perfectionism manifest? I mean, we've talked about the avoidance, right? So you procrastinate, you choose easier tasks, but I'm pretty sure there are other ways that perfectionism comes into light in someone's life without them realizing, listen, I'm actually a perfectionist.
Shame.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So if you get things wrong, it's not a mistake, right? It's an attack on your identity. So you feel bad, responsible, and ashamed, and that always disconnects us from others because we're hiding. So that's how you might notice it. Also, like the kind of the fragile identity that you feel like you're falling into nothing when things don't get right. So really, those deep falls, that they are also part of, and that's why extreme cases of perfectionism where people believe, oh, I'm so perfect for the longest, even like the extreme cases of narcissism, the mental health illness that is always connected to that is depression. Because if you're suddenly not performing anymore, you feel like you're falling into the deepest grounds, and that's when we might break. So you notice it like this. Then, like you've already said, avoiding the task, really procrastinating, that is a huge part of perfectionism, but also really the struggle to grow and to learn. So it might also be giving up quickly because you think, I should have that captured already. I should be good enough at that already. I should know it all because only then I'm perfect. And also another symptom might be overworking, feeling overwhelmed or burning out, because what you find with our society right now is not limited to work, right? You're supposed to be the best at work, then you need a social life, then you need to work out, then your health, your diet, everything needs to be perfect. So if you have the feeling that if you attend to one ball, 5 others are falling, that might also be a symptom of perfectionism.
I'm curious, in terms of people, and I'm saying this just piggybacking off what I've seen on social media. There is this, so social media affords us an opportunity to share really great moments. So this collage of our life story looks perfect. And so this is what we're constantly indulging. I'm seeing Julienne Hoss win. I'm seeing her get more clients. I'm seeing more retreats. I'm seeing her happy. She's eating good food. She's working out. Her hair looks great. I'm programming my mind for perfectionism.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How do we then lift off from that? How I want us to frame our headspace so that we can understand that firstly, what we consume is not the full landscape of Julianne's life. And I know that deep down we know, Julienne doesn't show us when she wakes up in the morning. Or if she does, it's not every day. So
I would never, because I'm already rushing. I'm late with
we
that
don't
task.
see that. You see, we don't see that. All we see is there you are meditating, helping people.
And I always say to my best friend, I always say to her, you know what?
Yeah.
Don't tell people what's going on in the house, because we will lose all retreat clients, all coaching clients. Because if they see the mess I'm making, that only you see.
Sure.
So we always joke around that.
How do we declutter from that? How do we take an understanding that will allow us to appreciate other people's wins without wanting to try to be perfect? Because the reality is, and there was a clip we were listening to where a young lady was saying that our parents lived in such a different time. It was much easier for them. And I think some of the difficulties we have is not because we bring it on ourselves. It's things like social media, where I'm inspired by Julienne, right? So Julienne is my mentor, but from afar. So I'm always keeping up with what she's doing. And all I'm consuming is her wins. And I feel now, if I'm not performing like Julienne, which is not really performing, it's just highlights of her life, then I'm failing. How do we disconnect from that reality and attach ourselves to something that is of value?
And it's not only Julienne, because I also have this effect on social media I see a great athlete, so I'm like, I should be like this person. Next person you scroll is a successful person in business. I'm like, oh, I should have a corporate career like this. Then you
Yes.
see an entrepreneur building the, and I was like, maybe I should like, and then you want to do all of it at once, and that is completely impossible.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be a really weird, like, it's not really an advice, but what I've seen helps people sometimes to get through this, and has also helped myself, is if you feel your life is collapsing in front of you, because as devastating as that is, afterwards you can take a choice and say what really matters, and then you realize, okay, it doesn't really matter to tick all the boxes and get everything right, because while we're chasing this, and I have so many young people, they or like in their 20s, 30s, when they have achieved a lot and they come to therapy and they feel nearly ashamed to say, I'm so miserable. And when we work through that to say, you know what, achieving things is great, but what they've promised you, what you will find, happiness, identity, connection, all of that, it doesn't come. You can achieve things to be stable and to have success, but if you want other things in life, like joy, happiness, connection, a good feeling in day to day, not to sit there and say you're miserable, that comes through other ways, and that comes through really how you live and structure your day to day and how you treat yourself. So sometimes realizing that either, whoa, I can't keep up, or either realizing I've done all of this and I'm still miserable, is horrible, but opens up an opportunity to look for joy elsewhere. And I also think, you know what, I think Bell Hooks, I love Bell Hooks as an author, and she always says healing comes in a community as well. So connecting in real life again. And I'm also not a friend of telling people, get off social media, stop doing this, because I always say our bodies are not really good at leaving things, stopping things, fighting things. We then usually want it more.
Yes.
So replace it with something. So instead of saying I should be less on Instagram, I would suggest I need to make more space for in-person connection. I need to make more time to chat with people. I need to make more time to find out how are you doing on a day-to-day. And if you see others that vulnerable, you realize we all go through the same challenges and we all connected in that way. And another thing, what, like, I love this friend so much. He always, when someone is successful or really beautiful or handsome, we always say together, bless them. So for me, what has also helped me through difficult times, it's even a lovely meditation I do where you just send good wishes. Because I think, especially with the pressure we put on ourselves to be perfect, I have experienced it, and I still sometimes experience that jealousy kicking in. And then you need to ask yourself, what type of person do I want to be? What are my values? And actually, I want to send good and kind thoughts. So I practice that meditation also with my clients. So these are just some of the things that you can try. Yeah. And I mean, my golden advice is always still, and that's why I was joking earlier that I don't think it will happen that you give perfectionist advice to someone else that you care about.
Yeah.
Just ask yourself also, would I do this to myself if I was my best friend? Would I look at social media and say, Julienne, you're not as good as others. Now you've overslept again. Now you're not doing again. And I sometimes ask my friends, if someone would speak to you the way you speak to yourself, that sounds semi-abusive often. So that is another shift. Because while a lot of us are perfectionists and put this massive pressure, we're so self-critical, we don't do it to our loved ones. So you can shift and practice how you would speak to someone you love, a friend, a mentee, a child.
Wow. Julienne, we are out of time, unfortunately. And I wanted us to get into perfectionism in relationships, because I do think that's also something.
That is also something.
A completely different topic altogether.
Yeah.
But we will make time for it. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me. It was a huge pleasure and honor. Thank you so much.
The voice of Julienne Hoss joining us this evening. She is a family therapist as well as a relationship counselor, joining us, really helping us disseminate the realities of perfection and how to overcome it, specifically honing into the workspace. It is 11 minutes after 11 p.m. Central African time. Let me give you time to think on it. Then send through your questions. +27 6340 69126.
From Cape to Cairo, every beat tells a story. It's African Diaries on Channel Africa.